Drivers, start your engine.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Saka here, and welcome back to another episode of NASCAR Racing 2003 season. We are at the Charlotte Motor Speedway 1.5 mile quad oval, starting right behind Kyle Larson there. In the outside line, we have Brad Keselowski to our inside. As you can see, the fuel situation is a little tight. We can go 22 laps on a tank of fuel, but we have 40 total laps. So if we can make it to the halfway mark, we will be good, and that will be our ultimate goal for today. Brandon is in a brand new paint scheme this week. You saw it last week at the All-Star Race, the wreckingandracing.com podcast car. So we'll be looking out for Brandon here. He'll be really tough here at Charlotte, and green flag is in the air. And let's get up to speed. We'll have a little bit of momentum on this outside line. Hopefully they don't try to stuff it in there 3 wide. It looks like Chase Elliott was looking but thought better of it. We'll keep our left sides right there in that second groove and see if we can get a drive off the corner here. Really big run on the outside of Larson. We're sort of stuck here behind Larson and Chase and looking for a hold to the bottom. The bottom is much faster. If you can get in there and roll the center, you will be set up well for this race. But cars just keep coming down there to the inside. Austin Dillon looking low. We have Eric Jones in the 20 on our inside as well. If we can get a good run on the outside here, we may be able to clear him. Let's shoot the middle in between Jones and Jimmy Johnson, looking like a wrecking ball. We're still in the middle 3 wide here. It's really loose into Johnson a bit. I don't imagine Johnson can be too happy about that, but we managed to get away with it. I wouldn't say scot-free, but we did manage to get away. Austin Dillon now to the inside, and we've cleared him. We can now get back to the bottom of the racetrack and start making up some ground here. Looks like Denny Hamlin is there on the outside groove. He'll be our first one that we... Wow, Eric Jones really decided to slow up on the bottom there. That killed a lot of momentum. We need Jones to complete the pass on his Joe Gibbs teammate there. Really loose on turn 3 entry. Man, we got lucky. That could have been a whole lot worse, but you can see how much ground we lost to Jones and how much ground we're losing here to these cars that just managed to fill the gap to the inside. AJ Allmendinger looking there. We should be able to get a good run on the outside here behind Austin Dillon to clear. And let's re-rack them up and try it again. I think we're faster than Dillon. Let's take a look to the inside. Dillon not giving us any room though. Really loose, trying to keep off of Austin Dillon, and that's going to hurt momentum even still down this straightaway. If there's one place you do not want to lose speed or get checked up, it is on turn 4 exit. And unfortunately, that's what happened to us. I believe we can make up a lot of ground here on turn 2. Right there, that little dip in the track provides a lot of grip. And if you're already on the gas by that point, you can really shoot down this back straightaway. Cars are looking single file now. There's a few cars on the outside that we can take advantage of and really start to pull. You can see how much ground we gained on Austin Dillon there on turn 4 exit. Let's take that pass there to the inside. Austin will be on the top, and it looks like Eric Almirola is in front of him. Dillon fighting back on the high side though. We can get the run down here, and we're catching back up to Eric Jones. Now with these cars in front of Dillon running side by side, Dillon is going to catch them very quickly, and we will be sort of right there with them. So it's going to make passing very difficult once we can get the momentum. Another lap in the books there. This is the longest race this season. It'll be 60 simulated miles rather than 50 or 40, depending on, the race length, as this would be the Coke 600 normally. So we've got some time to make it up. We're stretching out our fuel as much as we can, probably rolling out of the gas a little earlier to sort of curb that fuel usage. Good run on the outside here past Austin Dillon, catching right back up to the 11 to Denny Hamlin. We make short work of him. We can get a 2 for this time if Hamlin rolls over. And it looks like we'll be able to stay to the bottom of Hamlin. He's not going to be able to get the drive off. We're going to clear him. And we made up 2 positions in short order, which is what we need to do. We need to keep moving forward. The car washed up just a bit there. Tires are starting to give up just a touch. 7 laps into this, and we're running at ×3 tire wear and fuel simulation, so it's almost like we've put 21 laps on our tires at this point. So the tires are starting to give up a bit. Side by side in front of Eric Almirola there, we'll be able to catch up very quickly. Almirola is sort of stuck. Let's get past the Stewart Haas cars here. Eric Almirola and Kurt Busch on the outside in that Monster Energy 41. He's still out there, but we should clear him on corner exits, so both Eric and I put Kurt Busch a few positions back. We can still see the leaders a little bit up there. They're really starting to stretch them out, and those cars that have broken away are going to be very fast and very difficult to catch. We can see them going into turn 3 there. So we're about a quarter lap down as far as the lead is concerned, but we've still got some positions that we can make up here. We're looking at about 13 laps or so before pit stops. We just need to really run our race and let Eric Almirola fight with Jamie Mack there. If they can go side by side and stay there, we'll be able to catch them both, and catching them off of turn 2 is ideal. We'll have a lot of momentum here coming off of turn 2, just like so, and we are going to make the charge under Eric Almirola. In the 10, we'll get really well beside him. So as far as our turn 3 entry, he's going to roll out, and about right here, he's really going to roll back. We cleared him, and now let's set up for McMurray. And once we get past McMurray, we'll be able to really lay down some faster laps, being alone, not having to fight with traffic, and sort of let the race come back to us before pit stops. I imagine about 10 laps or so we can make the pit stop. Once we get to halfway, then fuel is no longer the issue. It's all about tires. And if this race has a look of a green flag run, which it does, you know, we want to spend as little time on pit road as possible, so we'll have to make these tires really last. If any car is going to do a 2 pit stop race here, they better hope for a caution, otherwise they're going to be a lap down or more. So good pivot there, and I think Jamie Mack is actually running some very fast laps here, catching these guys in front of us who seem to be running together side by side, and any car that runs side by side is going to be slower than us two for sure. I might actually ride behind Jamie here while those cars in that pack in front of us battle amongst each other, as they're going to really come back to us, especially if they run side by side like that. Car's feeling okay. It's a little jittery, but not bad. Certainly not as loose as the start was, that is for sure. Yeah, and that group is really fighting amongst themselves side by side pretty hard. It should be only a matter of a lap or 3 until we get up to them. Yeah, you can see visually that we are catching them very quickly. Not really pressuring Jamie, letting him run some fast laps as well. And in each and every corner, we can see them start peeking into the windshield in the upper left-hand corner, so we can visually see that we're making gains. And McMurray is pretty fast, I am not going to lie. Once he gets up to this group of 4 cars that aren't letting each other go, it may be a little difficult to get by them, so we'll have to pick and choose our battles well. And then once we get down to pit stops and everyone starts coming down on pit road, that will be a very tenuous time as well, as there will be cars in the bottom groove that basically just slam on their brakes and cause a mess for everyone running the bottom who was not intending on pitting that time, but we have indeed caught this pack. Jamie McMurray looks low under Clint Boyer there. Clint has a good run. We washed up the track pretty bad there. We'll let Eric Almirola on by. And we missed our turn entry there pretty bad. And if we were right behind McMurray, we'd be in the thick of it. Hopefully Jamie McMurray can stir up some of those guys right there. It looked like he was much faster anyway, so once he starts making passes, he'll bring the back end of that group to us. Yeah, right sides are really starting to struggle, but we're green on our left sides with 7 laps to go, so it looks like a 4-tire change for sure. And once we can pit past halfway, that will set us up for the rest of the race. The crew chief is debating between 1.5 cans and 2 cans as we roll. I'd rather them just put in 2 cans to get 22 laps out of it for sure. You know, if we were to pit now, we wouldn't need the entire 2 cans, but I'd rather play it safe than sorry, because if they say 1.5 cans of fuel and we're actually 1 or 2 laps short, you know, that's going to ruin our race for sure. So I'd rather have 2 cans. Car is really starting to push here. It's definitely not as fast as it once was. Hopefully these cars in front of us can start battling. If Clint Boyer can be slower than McMurray and definitely slower than Almirola, that will benefit us pretty well. We might be able to get 3 spots out of it, and indeed Eric Almirola looks to the bottom under Jamie McMurray. This may be our chance if we can really drive in. We're putting a lot of wheel into this car. Massive aero push, and it looks like a car was on pit road. They should be able to make it here with 21 laps to go, but that is really taking care of your fuel mileage and not running hard. We'll go a few more laps just to get that insurance that we can go the rest of the way on 1 stop. We've cleared McMurray finally after all of that time, and we're setting up for pit stops here. And indeed, it looks like Almirola is looking to pit, and maybe even Boyer as well. Yes, indeed. Cars break off, and the main pack has indeed split. So it looks like we should be able to come down next time by. We're at 20 laps to go. That will be past the halfway mark, so those cars that just pitted are splitting the race directly in half, 20 and 20, which is probably beneficial. I didn't need to stay out, but I also did not want to pit in the middle of all of those guys there. So, you know, we can choose when to pit. Let's go ahead and come down now. Starting to slow up here on pit road entry. Oh, we got jacked up. Oh, we got jacked up bad, spun back into traffic. Thankfully, no one is coming. Yellow flag will be out. And we're actually going to get on pit road after the yellow, but we passed the commitment line the correct way, so we're not going to be penalized for not entering the pit safely. But we will definitely be coming around next time. We have to, we'll just roll through pit road here because pits were closed when we came on pit road. We'll catch back up to the pack, put on 4 tires and fuel, and see how the rest of this race shakes out as far as positions go. So I will see you in just a moment. Getting ready to go green, and there are only 7 cars in the lead group. The leader is actually in the middle of this big pack, and this is where the wave around rule was put into play, because there are about 30 cars in front of the leader that is technically on the lead lap but about to go a lap down, trapped behind the pace car. So we're sitting really pretty, all things considered. The few cars in front of us are for position. William Byron right there in front of us will be for 6th. And the leaders are going to have a hard time getting around those cars who are trying to maintain their position on the lead lap and almost a lap down. So we're sitting really well. 15 laps to go, coming around to 14 laps to go this time. Looking to the outside of Byron, we were able to repair our damage from getting up there and slapping the wall. And a pretty spirited battle behind these lappers. These 2 cars in front of Truex and Logano are a lap down and really causing havoc here. We're getting a good run on Logano. He was for position. If we can get to the inside of Byron and Truex, no, I'm not going to push Truex too hard, but we'll trap William Byron behind the 34 K-Love car here. and clear him well and set our sights on Martin Truex Jr. He should be the next car for position. And indeed he is. We are in the top 5. So, you know, not bad considering where we were running. The caution sort of fell our way even though we were the reason for the caution. But that wasn't our fault. We got jacked up. Speaking of getting jacked up, there goes the 78 to the outside, trapped behind the 32. And then we get right behind Brendan Gaughan here. And we can see Brandon just a few cars in front of us, and that should be for the lead. So we'll make quick work of these lap cars. We have the 00 in front of us here, and Brandon is the next car for position. So these 2 cars in front, the 00 and then the 13 of Ty Dillon, are not for position. We need to get around them very quickly and try to catch up to Brandon while he is struggling with lap traffic here. Almost to 10 laps to go, so we should have a pretty spirited run here. Coming to the checkered flag, we are in 4th, and I don't imagine the leaders are too far in front of us now with all of those cars that they were fighting amongst themselves. And I guess those guys had a pretty good launch because I don't see a whole lot of cars that are a lap down now, so it looks like they all took off fairly well, and we have a bit of a pack in front that Brandon is catching up to. So we'll have one more lap car in front of us here to make short work of. Looks like the 6 of Trevor Bain, and indeed we go around the dart with no feathers. And then we can start really setting our sights on the cars in front of us. Brandon seems to be stuck there behind some cars. I imagine he'll look to the left. Oh, and it looks like even Larson is trying to find his way through. So yeah, that is a battle for the lead pack right there, and they can't seem to get around lap traffic, which is going to be very beneficial for us. We can lay down some much faster laps than they can. Brandon looking left, looking right around Larson. We've really caught up now to the pack. Looks like Ryan Newman there is our next car, and Bubba Wallace in the 43. Hopefully we'll make short work of them, because we do not want to lose touch with these leaders, not while they are battling these cars. This is an opportunity for us to actually make up a lot of ground here. Let's get under the 43, should be nice and clean, excuse me, Bubba. And indeed, it looks like a pretty tough battle there. And yeah, they are stuck behind lap cars, so this is my chance to catch up very quickly. Around the 23, they shoved out. And is Brandon going to make a run on the 42? That is the question. Brandon up top. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there. Brandon reined it back in. That was a little sketchy on corner exit. But there we go. So we're sitting right behind Brandon now in 4th. Looks like Brandon is in 3rd. Kyle Larson is in 2nd. And this is going to be pretty tough. It looks like Harvick even is in the lead. So put 4 cars under a blanket. Larson going for the lead here under Kevin Harvick. Oh, they're going too wide. That's going to choke up our momentum just a little bit. Brandon looking to the outside there of Kyle Larson. Let's look to the inside, see if Larson is going to give us anything, and he will not. He charges back down to the bottom, keeping Brandon on the outside. He should get that momentum off. Slices in front of Kyle Larson very, very closely. So now we're sort of in a mode where we can't really capitalize on anything just yet. Harvick is going to catch those lappers right in front of him fairly quickly, though, so the race is not over. Brandon scrapes the wall just a touch, and 5 laps to go. And this is going to be a pretty big battle, I believe. Brandon is trying to keep that outside working. He's trying to get around the 22 of Joey Logano. And yeah, Larson checks up a bit. We should be able to make the pass on him. Put Brandon to the lead around Kevin Harvick, forcing... Oh! So was that Paul Menard in the wall? Oh, and Kevin Harvick with a jacked up rear deck lid. So Harvick is coming back in rare form. It looks like he's having a pretty good run. But we should be able to catch momentum off and get a good pull off of Brandon here, and indeed we do. Put us solidly in 2nd, and it's going to be a two-car race, really, and depending on how Brandon gets through lap traffic here, depends on where we can catch him. Luckily, Austin gave us the bottom. We can follow Austin Dillon through. And it's just going to be a battle of lap traffic and attrition. We have 3 laps to go now. Brandon catching the 95 of Casey Kane and the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So if we stay on the bottom, we clip the apron just a bit there. That was detrimental to our forward momentum, but I think we are faster. We've taken better care of our tires, I think. We didn't have to really fight through all the lap cars like he did. So we just need to really capitalize on turn 1 and 2. That's where I think I am better. And it would be really good if he catches more lap traffic, but with 2 laps to go, there's only 1 car in front of him. So we have to get around Stenhouse as best we can. We should be able to on corner exit here. And Brandon gets a really good launch off of turn 2. We don't make up any ground this particular lap. And unfortunately, Stenhouse is actually running close to race pace, so it's going to be tough to get around him here. We're getting a good bite here, but once again, he blocks us on corner exit. That's going to kill momentum. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. This lap car is going to have to give Brandon a lot of trouble in order for us to really make a run. He sort of drifts up a bit. We can get some momentum off turn 2, get a pull on Almirola. But since Brandon's better on turn 3 and 4, I don't believe we're going to have the momentum to get it. We drove in really hard. We're washing up a lot of wheel in the car. We're not going to do it. In fact, bounce off the wall. We gave it everything we had, but Brandon will take the checkered flag. I thought we had a really good shot at it for sure. Oh, so I guess Harvick wasn't none too pleased with that. Oh, no, that wasn't Harvick. That was, who was that just spun us? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. The race is over. We come home second. Not a bad finish. The race was, you know, if we'd gotten through traffic a little bit better at the start of that first run and not got really loose. Okay, now this is just ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. We didn't do anything to you. Don't be spinning us. All right, so let's get back to our pit stall here and park it. A pretty fun race, all things considered, though. We were really competitive. They knew we were here. It's just a shame that lap traffic slowed us up, and that sort of seems to be the ongoing trend. Is if I'm running second, Brandon's leading, there will be a lap car that gets in our way and decides to kill all of our momentum and forward progress, so we don't have a really good heads-up 1 versus 1 shootout. But pretty happy with... Oh, come on now. You know what? Get out of the car. Just park the car there. That's fine. All right, so let's take a look at me coming down pit road here and see who exactly jacked us up. Let's see, that would have been around lap 20. So let's rewind this a bit and see who jacked up our Kerbal Space Program Camaro. There we were off in, and it was William Byron. So coming around the corner, Byron just bump and slide, and we were, you know, kicked out of traffic. Luckily, we didn't cross the commitment line, and when we were coming around, we entered the pit safely, technically. The commitment cone would have been right there at the start of the timing line rather than the runoff of pit road. Well, let's take a look at the battle that we had catching traffic here. This is when we were right behind William Byron and Joey Logano. And William Byron actually didn't have a hood. Interesting enough, I don't know. Well, as long as he stayed behind Truex, I guess he would be okay. But yeah, a really strong run under Byron here behind Truex. We are going to pin the 24 behind the 34 here and get a good run off. And then that would set us up for a future run against Brandon here. So yeah, it looks like Truex was going to get trapped behind the Corvette car. And this was when we got around Bubba here, catching up to Brandon. Now, Brandon had a pretty big wiggle. once we got up to him, and I think it was right up here, we get around the 23 like he was standing still. There's the leader, Harvick, and the 42 of Larson. Brandon is going to go into the corner. Oh, big slide. He laid down a little bit of rubber off that right rear tire. I imagine that felt much bigger in the car than it looked like on TV, that is for sure. But this is where we really started making that charge forward. Brandon, Larson, and Harvick. Yeah, we get a good run off of turn 2 here, and those lap cars in front were really the ones that slowed them, that slowed everybody down and gave us that opportunity. He got a good run on that high line. And yeah, this is when we go to the outside of Larson, side by side here. And then we go to the bottom, and Larson sort of blocks us off. We couldn't really make a run there. And yeah, that sort of killed the rest of our corner until we got a solid run off. But a pretty good race indeed overall. Let's take a look at the standings. Brandon with 5 wins. I'm still holding second with 3. Brad Keselowski is your cutoff driver. Kurt Busch, though, in danger of being the cutoff driver, just 2 positions. It's starting to get spread out. Stenhouse is 19 positions back. Elliott 21, Hamlin at 27, Allmendinger in the 20th spot. And then it's almost a mirror. Up top, McMurray 17, Jimmy Johnson in pretty solidly with 33, and Kyle Busch is the first car 1 race ahead. But that is going to do it for me in this episode, ladies and gentlemen, of NASCAR Racing 2003 season. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week for the Tricky Triangle at Pocono. Take care.